Hi, I'm Chris, and in this video we're taking a look at a slightly complex roots question. So if you're just learning about square roots for the first time, you might want to look at one of our more introductory videos. But if you've been working with it for a while and you're used to square roots, cube roots, fourth roots, fifth roots, sixth roots, and having to combine separate roots into one, and some of those other more advanced skills that you learn a little bit later on in the chapter, then this is a good place for you. And the question that we're addressing today is how to get an A on a roots test. So we're going to cover two things that are common mistakes students make when they're dealing with roots that cause students to sometimes miss a few points on a question on an exam where really the student knew how to do the question, how to approach it mathematically, but a couple careless things can creep their way in there if we're not careful, and this is a good system to check yourself. You can do it after each question, or you could even do it at the end of a test or a quiz and go back through. And I promise you, if you do this, you'll probably catch a few mistakes along the way, and you'll be able to get yourself those points back with just these two quick checks. So let's take a look at the first one. The first one says same. And what that means is, in this example, we'll work through this example, but when I say same, there are two things that applies to. First of all, you're looking at what type of root you're dealing with. In this case, it's the fourth root of 16x to the third times the fourth root of 2x to the seventh. You can only combine these and multiply together inside the root if the root is the same. So when we say same, that's the first thing you want to check is before you do anything mathematically, you want to make sure that the root is the same. And in this case, it is the same, so we can go ahead and combine these into the same root. And to do that, for this problem, we're just going to multiply. First, you multiply the numbers. So we're going to have the fourth root of 32, and then you multiply the variables. X to the third times x to the seventh. You add those exponents, that will give you x to the 10th. Now, to simplify this root a little bit further, we're going to break it down. You can use a factor tree to do this. And remember, to decide what we're able to take outside the root, we're looking for a set of 4, because we're dealing with a fourth root. So we would have 2 times 16. That could be broken down into 2 times 8. That could be broken down into 2 times 4. And that could be broken down into 2 times 2. And if you look, we've got a set of 4 2's right there. So we could take a 2 out, and we're left with a 2 inside. So this would be 2. And then inside the root, we have a 2 remaining. And then for the x's, we're going to divide by 4, and we're going to see how many times 4 goes into 10. 4 goes into 10 2 times. So that means that the exponent that you have out here will be a 2 on that x. And then the remainder, when 4 goes into 10, it goes in twice. That would give you 8, and you have a remainder of 2. The remainder tells you the exponent on the x inside your root. So there you go. You've got 2x squared outside and 2x squared inside when you simplify this root. Now here's the second place where it's really important to make sure we check to see what's the same. When you get your final answer, you also want to take a look back at the beginning and make sure the root that you have on your final answer is the same. Hopefully some of you caught it as I was writing this out, but I did not write fourth root on here. I wrote this as a square root, and I just forgot to write the 4. It's a very easy mistake to make, and a mistake that students make very commonly. So if you just make sure when you're done with the problem, when you've boxed that answer off, go ahead and take a look and make sure the root that you end up with matches what you started with. Make sure it's the same. If it's not, then you just need to remember that you need to include that root. In this case, we're talking about the fourth root. So if you caught that as I was working through, great job. If you didn't, then that means that maybe this is the type of mistake you might make on one of these problems. It's a very easy mistake to make, nothing wrong with that, but if we have this check in place, we're likely to catch it and get those points back on the quiz. The next question we want to ask ourselves, even or odd? So at the very end, when you come up with your final answer, you want to take a look at the root that you have. If it's an even root, then whenever you take something out of it, whenever you simplify that root, for even numbered roots, the answer could be positive or negative. And so the other thing that you would want to make sure you go back and check is if your roots are even, you're just going to put a plus minus in front of your answer. So instead of just 2x squared times the fourth root of 2x squared, you're going to say positive or negative 2x squared times the fourth root of 2x squared. Something also really important to do and essential for getting all of the points on a test or a quiz. So with these two checks, make sure you check that the root's the same as what you started with. Make sure you check that if it's an even number, you put a plus minus in front. If it's odd, then you don't have to worry about that step. You can go ahead and box off your answer and you're all set. For more, please feel free to watch our other videos, and thanks for watching.